Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Cut and Splice. This is Matt.
This is Gil.
And this is Jason.
Today, we're going to take a quick look at directors who either started out or basically made their names as actors and how those seemingly different crafts seem to overlap, and who has been successful and who maybe hasn't been. Obviously there's a lot of history uh, going back going all the way back to Charlie Chaplin, obviously, to people like Kenneth Branagh and Ben Affleck. So hopefully we'll be able to be terse in our comments, but this actually could turn into a 4-hour episode if we go off the rails. But anyway, I'll leave it to the guys to get started with their initial thoughts, and hopefully we will be terse.
And I think Jason, you were mentioning something about you were looking up some stuff about it.
Hopefully, we'll be more terse than Matt's intro.
Yeah.
No, I just wasn't sure what we were going to talk about, so I just Googled a list and I was just writing some stuff down. You were talking about when I
before we were starting.
Yeah. When I said oh good, oh my gosh.
So you're looking at Tom Hanks.
No, before Tom Hanks actually is what it was. So I was just looking some stuff up. I saw the list of people, and some of them were most of it was obvious stuff I knew that these actors had directed stuff. A few of them I wasn't sure and I didn't know about. And then some of them were like Tom Hanks and stuff where I was like, I know that person has directed stuff. I just don't remember exactly what. And with him, I remembered it was That Thing You Do and a few other ones that he's done. But the thing that made me surprised was when I looked at Kevin Costner, because I knew that Kevin Costner had directed some stuff, but when I looked at it right now, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that he's only directed I don't know, 4 things, I think, or let me see, 3 things. And all 3 of them are pretty darn good movies. It's like Dances with Wolves, Postman, and Open Range. And I was like, that's pretty good. If those are your only 3 movies. He didn't direct Waterworld.
Oh, right. Why am I thinking that he directed it? Yeah, no, it's true. He directed The Postman, which came after. Yeah. And was also a very ambitious movie. I think there's just some similarities. Waterworld was the Reynolds, no, Prince of Thieves director, something.
I think so. But either way, the point is, I just surprised me because I either thought he had done 5 or 6 movies and a bunch were lesser films or something like that. But I just looked, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that he did Open Range. I remember that he did Dance with Wolves. I didn't remember he did Postman, but it's a kind of an underrated movie. And I was just like, that's 3 for 3. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. And Matt mentioned Chaplin is definitely one of the early big ones. But yeah, and maybe he's the one who sort of started it. It's these sometimes actors who like to be in control to some degree. There's 2 kinds. There's the people who want to get into directing as a challenge, and there's the people that just like to just have control over their material in some ways. But the funny thing is, in the modern age, comedy is not that way. You would have the Mike Myers and the Jim Carrey that do sort of take over their projects in some way, but they don't fully on direct them. But then again, there's people like Ben Stiller that do stuff that's similar to what Chaplin did. Woody Allen is an obvious one, but he sort of started as a writer director. I feel like in some ways he started as a comedian, but he pretty much was never acting in other movies before he became a director. He sort of
Woody Allen ran through my my mind when we were talking about this, and he just didn't fit for me just because of that. Just because of the fact that he just kind of started as the quote unquote auteur, just like he's just in control of what's going on. I'm not putting Woody Allen down, by the way. I think he's one of the greatest filmmakers ever made, and ever made, who's ever lived. But you know, go ahead and fight me. But that's a different episode.
Yeah, that aside, maybe that's when we do the Annie Hall episode, and Jason can go head to head with you. But also Stallone, I feel like is another one that, in the Chaplin vein, sort of got a lot of success early on as a writer and actor, and then wanted to take over his franchises essentially and
Yeah,
to help them completely. So there's definitely that aspect of it. But then there's the ones that I don't know where I would put Eastwood in that category. I would put him in the category of trying to find another challenge and just becoming sort of like an all-time great director, which is more rare. Like you definitely see a lot of successful ones, but Eastwood is definitely one of those that like I don't know if there's too many examples like Eastwood where you can act for several decades and then all of a sudden shift to directing and you realize that you're like an all-time great. Like the Affleck was a recent one that I felt like if he could keep that momentum of the few movies that he made,
Yeah.
he could also be on that trajectory. Probably not Eastwood, but just be a solid director. I honestly feel like he can
So
have
far, he's 4 for 4.
I think he would have a better legacy if he just kept making movies. But I wonder if it's a calculation on his part, as like, well, this run is not going to go on forever, so I might as well. I don't know if he's spacing them out or looking for the right project or just saying like, why am I doing this? Like I've made those 4 movies, they're all good. Why risk a miss?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do wonder. I mean, do you think that there's something to it? Obviously, actors know how to communicate with actors, so there's this notion that they tend to get very good performances, from other actors. But I feel like then again, some of them don't
Don't.
necessarily have what
You
don't.
just said some of them don't. Like,
Some of them don't that too, but no, but I meant more that they wouldn't necessarily have a keen visual eye,
right.
or things like that that might translate that they're mostly like maybe very character driven but some of them do. Uh, yeah, it's I guess we can run up some more examples to
I honestly, I've never really put too much thought into the aspect that you're talking about, like trying to like put them into one category or another. I just kind of think that like some people have the talent to do both, and some people don't. And a lot of people try, and some people are capable, and some people are really really good, and some people are terrible. But at directing, I should say, regardless of how they were as an actor, and yeah, I guess if I was to put them into categories, I'd say it's to me, I more think of it as like which ones do I think of primarily as a director first, and then as an actor second, or something like that. Because, and I mean, some of that obviously, like for instance, that's how I would think of Ron Howard, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of his acting was, a long time ago, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
another big one. Also in the Eastwood category, even though he wasn't. He was mostly a child actor for the most part.
right,
Um, yeah, he transitioned pretty early on, but yeah, became like a really good director. Like go figure. Like
he's
that's
great.
that's
Yeah,
um that's pretty
his
rare.
just throwing it out there, his daughter is probably on the way to becoming a really good director too.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you would consider not really, but Sofia Coppola, even though she was really bad in Godfather 3.
So I was trying to I saw her on the list, and I was like trying to think, okay, other than Godfather 3, what did she ever do? I wasn't even
No, no, it
sure.
was mostly just Coppola, as he likes
Yeah.
casting his
Yeah.
family
So
members
it's
and
like
stuff. She was never
it's like
really in. actress per
Yeah,
se.
it's like that's what I was trying to say. Is like I'm not trying to say you have to have done X, Y, and Z to become a real actor or anything stupid like that. But it's like realistically, I think after her first couple movies and seeing what kind of talent she had as a director, I think most people would agree that she's more of a director than she ever was as an actress.
Yeah, I mean, she's the only director that I can think of who's never made a 3-hour movie, but every single one of them feels like it's 4 hours.
Wow.
But
Wow.
Lost in Translation was good. I'll give her that. But
Virgin Suicide is a really good movie.
oh yeah. I'll throw over that one too. Not that I
It's
have any
funny. I
strong
remember I
opinions.
saw that movie. It's very memorable to me because it was my first date with my first girlfriend. We went to
Oh,
see that
jeez.
movie, and I was a big movie fan at the time, but it was like, what is this? It was just like, was not a good movie. I mean, like I wasn't crazy about it at the time. I'm sure I would appreciate it more now, but I was also just young and horny, and maybe it was more on the date. I was kind of like thinking like, well, I was like, I guess I was doing it for her sake. I don't know if we decided on it together because it was like a, sort of like a more like a chick flick, or that's the way I perceived it at the time as an idiot adolescent. In any case,
Yeah, the word suicide just rings chick flick, doesn't it?
no, but like
Well, I'm
it's all
sure if you saw the
girls and
trailer and you saw all the
Yeah,
the content of the movie, you could be forgiven for making that mistake. It is very
yeah,
funny in hindsight when you think about the end of that movie. It's not a chick flick at all.
no.
right.
It was just very. It was a downer, is what I would
Yes,
call it
yeah,
more than
absolutely.
anything.
Yeah.
And I guess I wasn't ready for that when I was 18, and mostly I was into action movies and whatnot. Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's all good. It's just a memorable movie going experience. I think also, I guess there's some of the more recent ones like Olivia Wilde. I guess started like directing.
Yeah, her
Um,
movie was not
Ah,
great.
wasn't
I was pretty disappointed with it.
the recent one the
Yeah.
oh,
yeah, I
Don't Worry,
haven't.
I
Darling.
had
Oh,
I had
that was
very
a,
high I had very high not expectations but hopes for it, and then I was like, wow, it was pretty disappointing.
I mean, her first film, Booksmart, was one of those movies. I mean, it was critically praised, and I went to go see it, and I was just thinking, like, this is super bad on NyQuil.
Huh.
Like, it's just boring. I mean, it's the same story as uh, it's just not. It's it's just boring. It's not there's nothing really going on here. And then Don't Worry, Darling was just pretentious drivel. I mean, it was just
Looked nice.
it- you're being more generous than I would be, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it had some nice images from here and there, but it was just it
I just feel like they didn't think about the third act at all.
I don't think that they thought about anything. I mean, I think that they just. I don't think that they actually thought about the story and how they were going to tell it. I thought they thought about the message and just like threw a bunch of shit on a page and made it into a movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, moving on.
yeah,
Okay.
it does seem like she's trying to be very ambitious and
Yeah.
very like intellectual about her approach to the movies with both of them, but maybe she's just not hitting it right, right out of the park. Like she's just who knows? Maybe she might get better, like anything else. But it is one of the interesting aspects of directing in general that I mean, actors definitely have some idea of what it is to be a director because they're on set all the time. But yeah, directing, and this is maybe a different subject of conversation, is really you don't really need to have any specific technical abilities. You need to just have a passion for a story you want to tell, and as long as you put a good, solid technical group together, you can make a pretty solid movie,
Yeah,
but it's
you have to have a vision, and you have to be a good communicator. You have to be a good manager, and part of being a good manager is surrounding yourself with the right people.
yeah, no, exactly. Which is yeah, what directors do as far as like getting the right actors. So yeah, but and I do wonder, yeah, if there is anything to the whole like I don't think that actors. It's not like in sports where it's very common nowadays that a former player will become a coach,
Mhm.
and that makes it better because the players have respect for him because he used to be a
Hmm.
player. It feels like it's a mixed bag. It's both can work, and it's just a matter of just like where's that person coming from. I'm trying to think of any other examples that could shed some light on it. Um,
Examples of what?
of actors that became directors.
Oh, I have a whole list here we haven't even gone
Yeah,
over.
go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about Ben Affleck. I mean, John Favreau is a really good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I do
Um,
wonder. I guess that's true, but he sort of started as I guess he didn't because he started as a writer though
I
because
think so.
he wrote what you call it
Swingers.
Swingers. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was like
Um,
his claim to fame, no? And then he acted in it, and then
I'll
he.
I'll double check. I think you're right about that. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I mean, I think he was one of those people who were always intended to get to that point. But I mean, the fact is, he acted for years.
Yeah, because it was a way when you're trying to get your foot in the door, if
Yeah,
you're gonna get cast and like, you're not gonna say no. But
right.
you sometimes you see the people where like their real passion was to try and write and direct, but it's just that for example, Bill Hader, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to be a filmmaker. I think he might have even gone to film school or something. But then once he realized that he had like acting chops and comedic ability and stuff, he built on that and made a career out of it. But now with Barry, he's directing episodes of that show, and it become like his vehicle to essentially be a filmmaker in a way.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe once he's done with that show, he'll branch out and attempt to direct actual movies.
Oh, so just to answer your question, yeah, John Favreau did write and also co-produce Swingers, but Doug Liman directed it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, there's definitely a lot of examples of people that just do a really good job at it, like really succeed, like that they'll be better than average as far as
Well,
their.
obviously, one of the best ones, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson is a big one,
Um,
as Matt and Trey Parker said, like the man knows his story
story
no,
structure.
structure.
I believe the quote is the son of a bitch knows story structure. Um,
Oh, my nipples are so sensitive. Don't twist them.
um, just
I know
going
you
down the
want to
line
talk.
here. Sorry.
Yeah,
George
yeah, sorry.
Clooney.
Yeah.
Obviously Robert Redford. He did some great movies.
Oh,
George Clooney
yeah,
is not a great example because
No, I know.
he
He's on
definitely
the list.
has a few duds.
Yeah, that
yeah,
Monuments Man and should have been a great movie, and it just has a real tone problem.
yeah. But Good Night and Good Luck, he just knocked that
That's
motherfucker
true.
out of the
That is
park.
a
Great
good
movie.
one.
Great
I
movie.
mean that movie still makes me cry, and I've probably seen it 10 times.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, no, he made enough movies that he's got a few that are pretty decent. I saw Leatherheads, which was fun. It was not great, but it
I
was
wanted to see that. I never
enjoyable.
saw it.
I mostly was curious to see that period in time,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
was more like more than anything else. Yeah.
But also, Quiz Show was brought up, and I was actually thinking about that earlier today because that's a 1994 film, and that was actually kind of a year of a lot of good movies like Shawshank Redemption. And Gil, I know I was talking to you about Before the Rain, that like some really good movies that came out that just flopped at the box office. Uh, but yeah, Quiz Show is a freaking masterpiece. I mean, it is really well done, and it brings up some brilliant ideas, and it's just masterfully crafted drama. Uh, I mean, there's a lot of praise that should still be heaped upon that movie that it has been lacking for a long time.
Yeah, as Robert Redford,
Yeah,
and the we did learn the script in film school and like studied it, and I also read a
yeah.
book where they analyzed it. So yeah,
This
no,
is in no particular order, but Jordan Peele,
that's a
Kenneth
big one,
Branagh,
a recent one.
yeah,
Mm,
recent one too, yeah. Kenneth Branagh.
mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know how many movies she directed, but I definitely saw at least one of Jodie Foster's movies.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
I really liked her first movie, the Beaver. I thought it was like really underrated. And then as
That
we already,
movie screwed with me
I liked it a lot.
in all the wrong ways. It screwed with me, but yeah. Okay.
We already talked
Yeah,
about Kevin Costner. He's three for three. Oh, here's a
yeah,
good one. I made a note about this one. I have brought this up on our podcast before already, but Tom McCarthy.
Yeah,
yeah.
Um, I think in my opinion, I'd say that he's like 4 for 5 or something like that. I can't remember if he's made 5 or 6
except for
movies.
the Adam Sandler one.
Yeah, and even that it's not a bad movie. It's just all his other movies I enjoy so much, and that one I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
But
Um,
Uh,
I
you
would
already
say like
said,
about Jordan Peele is
yes,
it is interesting. I wonder if there's more examples that of people that started out as essentially comedians, but then
mm,
become very like directors in a very different genre. You know, like horror and drama that he's doing now. I mean, I'm sure like he definitely has some humor in his movies, but
I haven't seen his last one, but in an interview, I hope I'm not misquoting this. I'm pretty sure it was him that was saying this, but somebody said something about what you just said about like being that his movies are horror movies or whatever, and he said something like, "I think all my movies are funny" or something like that.
yeah, no, he's definitely
mm,
got a twist to it, but it's not what you would expect from someone who was a sketch comedy
Agreed.
writer. It's definitely out of left field. Um, yeah,
Yep.
it's an interesting. I don't know. It's I'm glad we're talking about it because it is interesting the different ways that it definitely feels like a lot of these people. It's some sort of like passion they have in them, and some of them, like say like a Redford or some other ones, will just do 2 3 movies that like Clooney. Maybe he made 2 3 movies too many Clooney, but like the Good Night Good Luck, like having those few projects that you really just want to get made, but you don't want to let go of that control, and you want to do it on your own. And and it's often like a good recipe, I guess, for a good movie. Yeah.
yeah. I'm kind of thinking about the contrast between, I mean, specifically between Kevin Costner and Kenneth Branagh,
Mm.
because Kenneth Branagh is pretty damn prolific as a director. I mean, he did, and his filmography does precede Henry V in 1989, but I mean, he was still known as a theater actor even before he was in front of the camera. So I think that he qualifies as an actor who transitioned into directing, but like his big takeoff both as an actor and as a director was basically the same film. Um, but I mean, Kevin Costner obviously has been around forever as an actor. Dances with Wolves, The Postman. I mean, Open Range. It's amazing that that was the last film that he's directed so far. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Kevin Costner actually said recently that his next directorial project is going to be a western, and he's planning on it being like 5 hours long and like this huge sweeping thing that he's doing. And I'm like, if it's half as good as Open Range, I'm up for it. Yeah, right, I'll do it. Yeah, that's awesome. Kenneth Branagh has been up and down kind of as a director. I mean, well, actually, to say kind of is to put it lightly. Henry V, freaking great. Dead Again, not so great.
Yeah.
Much Ado About Nothing,
fantastic.
Yeah, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, kind of a dud. Hamlet, it's really the only film version of Hamlet that I still rewatch, and it takes me 4.5 hours every time I do it, but I stand by it. It's the best film adaptation of Hamlet ever made.
You've never rewatched The Lion King? I'm
If
sorry.
it's animated,
Keep going. Keep going.
if it's animated, I haven't rewatched it.
Definitely not recently.
Really? I was just
Boycott.
joking. Jeez.
As You Like It, yeah. The Sleuth, absolute bomb, awful movie, really bad. And actually, the funny thing is, Sleuth was one. I think it's the first movie that I named of his that he directed that he wasn't in. He just went behind the camera, and this is counterintuitive for me because I kind of always thought that actors would probably be better if they just split the split their jobs. Well, didn't split their jobs. That they would just step behind the camera and use their acting prowess to direct the actors. But Sleuth was a time when he actually stepped behind the camera entirely and just let Jude Law and I think Michael Caine uh, acted out, and it's just a terrible movie. It's yeah. Then he directed Thor,
Fantastic.
so big comeback. Then Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit,
Meh.
and then he directed Cinderella, which I think we can all agree is the only good live action Disney remake.
Jungle Book's all
I
right.
haven't seen it. Jungle Book is pretty good.
You should see Cinderella. It's actually pretty good.
Really? Yeah, I maybe I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but generally, I actually did spot another one is John Krasinski, another one of those
Yeah.
comedy
Yeah.
actors that turned like suspense,
A
director.
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, but that
Yeah.
was like a oneer. Like it seems like it might not. I don't know if he's continuing the. Is he directing the? Did he direct the sequel or?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay, but I know the third one might be someone else or something.
I'll be curious to see what he does with it, aside from sequels of that movie.
Yeah.
If he does anything really big after that.
Yeah, Sean Penn is another one that sort of like a few passion projects that he wanted to make. Warren Beatty has a few.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles, yeah, that's one that I was gonna bring up, but he did start out as a director in movies. He didn't really act in movies before he became a director. He was a theater actor.
That's fair.
And director. But yeah, so he's sort of like a Woody Allen in a way, where he basically, once his movie career started, he started exactly. And
what about Sidney Pollack?
Yeah, Sidney Pollack is another one for sure. But that is actually interesting. Is the flip side is directors that become actors. That's more rare. And
Werner Herzog.
Yeah, I love Werner Herzog.
Yeah,
there's a few of them. I mean, I think Truffaut actually was in a few movies.
Yeah. Herzog's cameo in Rick and Morty is always going to be iconic.
Oh my gosh. It's incredible.
I have lived among the humans. They are obsessed with their penises. It is fun to call them small. It is fun to say that they are big. I have seen people hold a pencil against their cock to say, "Look, I am such and so dick," and it has never failed to get a laugh.
He's amazing. Gil, you were mentioning a while back that you never saw the Jack Reacher movie. Werner Herzog's in that one, and he's very good.
Oh yeah, it's funny. I feel like Werner Herzog has become some sort of like caricature.
Yeah, he's like a little character actor.
Of the obscure like foreign director, like the odd foreign director, and he just like pops in everywhere because he's old. Like, so showing up on set for a day here and there, it's simpler than making a whole movie.
Yeah.
was gonna say a few other ones. Is Rob Reiner was an actor, who, even though he started out in the business because of his father and stuff, but still was an actor before he became a director. And again, I would say one of the all-time greats when you consider some of his movies. So it's amazing when that actually happens.
I don't remember what he acted in.
All in the Family. I mean, the
yeah.
sitcom.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm sure he had a few other things, but he was very famous for that because that ran for years.
Sure.
The it's sort of, I guess, in a way like Ron Howard, only that Ron Howard didn't become a comedy director. Rob Reiner also actually didn't do comedies exclusively.
Ron Howard did Arrested Development, and that's one of the greatest comedic TV shows of all time.
Yeah, but that's later on. I mean, his movies, because he came from a sitcom, and once he started directing, he went pretty much all like serious movies. Rob Reiner actually did Spinal Tap and a few comedies as well as dramas, so he kind of mixed it up.
Yeah. I mean, Spinal Tap is obviously it might have been the first mockumentary. I don't know, but it's still my favorite mockumentary.
There's not too many of them, but
yeah, but
it's mostly that and the Christopher Guest movies.
Well, the mockumentary, there might not be too many movies that are mockumentaries, but the influence of those movies definitely helped push the mockumentary TV show style, which is now huge.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's definitely something where it translated to TV.
But yeah, when I think about Rob Reiner, I think about Mercy and Stand By Me and A Few Good Men and all that stuff. So yeah,
good movies.
I guess Penny Marshall, I guess, was an actress before she became a director. She was a pretty big director.
I'm not too familiar with her movies.
Oh well, yeah, I think she did Big, right? And no, she did a few big movies. Yeah, Big, Awakenings, A League of Their Own. Yeah, there's a few of them.
Isn't that Tom Hanks?
Yeah, the one with Tom Hanks.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about. I'm sorry. You weren't listing her directing things. Yeah.
No.
I got you. Yeah.
That's her directing credits.
No,
yeah.
No. She directed A League of Their Own.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tom Hanks
in any
was
case,
in it. But
yeah. Anyways, I was gonna mention. What was I gonna mention? Oh yeah, and then one last thing that I thought was interesting is an example of Bradley Cooper. I feel like, and interestingly, is an example of, and maybe Greta Gerwig to some degree too, is actors that feel like maybe their acting career is not going the way they would like, and they go into directing in order to find maybe like a second wind in their career. Because Greta Gerwig was never like an it girl or it actress. It didn't seem like she was in a few Baumbach movies because they're, I think, friends and now they're a couple and everything. But she never really took off as an actress. And then now she's bigger than ever, just directing movies. And Bradley Cooper too, even though he's been in a bunch of movies, I guess there's this whole thing about, I don't know, he has like a bad rap in the industry or something. People like don't consider him that good of an actor or something, and something about him wanting to quit acting too or something, and it's part of the reason why he went into directing. So it is interesting that other category of people that try to find a second career before their acting career dips too low, that they don't have any clout,
Yeah, but he's gone back to do movies since the movie he directed.
Exactly. Well, he said something because when he did Licorice Pizza, like he said, like he was almost gonna give up on acting or something, and then he got the call from Paul Thomas Anderson, and then he got a call for the part in the Del Toro movie. It was something about like he was just kind of done with it, like he was very jaded about it. And now he's got that second movie that he's directing, the one about Leonard Bernstein, I think.
Maestro.
The Maestro or something. Yeah. So it's interesting that is a different category, and I'm sure if we dug deep, we could find actors who, either are jaded or not crazy about where their acting career is going, so they kind of go into directing. You know where it's very common? TV. A lot of like the Star Trek actors, I've noticed, like they'll tend to, if you get on a TV show that's like 7, 8 seasons long, they'll often ask the producers to allow them to direct a few episodes, because then they can get their guild membership or something, get into the Directors Guild, and then they can essentially hop between shows and make a living, because they know that they got lucky and they got cast in this one TV show because they had a certain look that matched what the producers were looking, but they had this hunch that, once this show is over, they won't be able to find any other work. So but the directing, in TV, you're pretty much a traffic cop for the most part. All you have to do is just show up and, like, get your shots. The DP knows what to do. The actors know how to act, the characters. So you don't need as much talent to stay afloat as a TV director as you would, like, say, like a film director, or stuff where you
Well,
generate all your own ideas.
Well, relevant to that, the director of probably the greatest Star Trek film outside of Wrath of Khan, Jonathan Frakes.
I was just going to say Riker's is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he directed Star Trek First Contact, and he kind of, eked his way into that role in the same way. Apparently, I don't know if this is just a Star Trek nerd fact, but he actually got the nickname Two Take Frakes because he would only do 2 takes and then he would just move on, and like, it was just a mantra on the set, like, you're only going to get 2 takes and then we're going to go on to the next thing. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, outside of the Star Trek universe, I don't think he's really done much as a director, but he did manage to knock it out of the park with First Contact.
Yeah, no, I think he just lucked out with a very good script, and everything came along just right. I honestly don't think that movie is that tremendous directing wise. I directing wise, I think it's very pedestrian. Like, I just think it just goes through the motions. There's nothing super unique about it. But I do appreciate the fact that as a Star Trek story, it's outstanding. So but I'm just saying that he didn't mess it up, let's just say, but I don't think he elevated in any way, and that's why I think he's not directing other big movies, because it's pretty limited. I'm sure he directs TV a lot.
Yeah,
I can only
He
imagine.
directed an episode of The Orville, didn't he?
I can only assume.
I'm pretty sure he did. I can't point to the one that he did. The thing is, like, Seth MacFarlane, by the way, is not only writing but directing a lot of episodes of The Orville, and that show is going full cinematic. So yeah.
Gil, since you're trying to analyze the different types of these actors turned directors, what do you think about Zach Braff?
Yeah, I saw him. It's on the list. It's interesting. I mean, he definitely. It's also like a passion project thing, because when he did Garden State, I feel like he really went all out. Went very stylish and really tried to make it his own. But I don't know if he's done much since then. Like, I'm sure he's directed
He's
some
done a few
stuff,
movies,
but not notable. Sarah Polley is an interesting one, because she did that documentary. I don't know if you've seen that one. That if you haven't, you should. Yeah, that's actually interesting, because she went from being an actor to go into directing a documentary that's not a very conventional documentary, let's just say. It really something you have to see. It's quite unique. Stories We Tell, it's called. Yeah.
I don't think I've even heard of it.
Yeah, it's if you want to see a weird documentary, Like you should watch that. And with emphasis on the weird, because this is a crazy twist in it for sure.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, it's weird that I haven't mentioned it to you, but I guess that's why we have this podcast, so we can.
Yeah. He only directed one film so far as I know, but I really liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt's film,
Don John.
Don John, even though I was surprised years after seeing it that I started reading a few reviews and I saw listened to a podcast or two, and I thought people were incredibly critical of it, but I personally really liked it.
I thought it was pretty good for like first time endeavor. It was very creative.
I didn't know, like it was a movie that kind of went in a direction that I didn't expect. You know, it was an unexpected movie with an unexpected direction, and not like directing, but like the story, the direction the story went was really interesting, and just I don't know, I really liked it.
Yeah, but it's still within that category, I would say, of like new challenges, like trying to find a new challenge.
Right.
But then he did that and was like, okay, I'm gonna back off. I'll go.
It'd be interesting to see if he ever does another one.
Yeah, exactly. It's directing is not easy. It's especially if you generate your own material, your own ideas. It's a lot of work, and it's a big risk. You take a big risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just safer. I think that's what like Affleck pretty much like I got these few movies. Why mess that up? Let me just go back to acting, and I can always blame it on the script if like the movie's bad, or like the director.
Yeah. And that actually just just because it's relevant to recent Oscars and everything, just cycling back to Kenneth Branagh with Belfast and winning winning Best Original Screenplay and being nominated for Best Director for that.
Damn good movie.
And realizing and when you look at his career, his directorial debut was when I was 4 years old. That was 1989. And he got nominated for Best Director for Belfast, won the Oscar for the original screenplay last year. And I think that he's kind of a unique character in this whole narrative, in that, like, Ben Affleck went in and made Gone Baby Gone with a ton of resources behind him. I'm not trying to detract from Ben Affleck's accomplishment, by the way. I, I I mean, he really knocked it out of the park with Gone Baby Gone, just right away. And like, holy crap, Ben Affleck can direct, and he keeps surprising us with how good he is at that. Well, at this point, I don't think he can surprise us. I mean, he can make a masterpiece and it wouldn't surprise us at this point. But Kenneth Branagh was always kind of, when you look at Kenneth Branagh's filmography, I mean, there was always something there from Henry V. Like, he knew when to hold shots and he knew when to not hold shots. I mean, there's a whole 4.5 minute shot of Kenneth Branagh just carrying Christian Bale's dead body on his shoulder, like, through the battlefield to music. Like, there's just that one long shot, and he had the wherewithal as a young filmmaker in 1989 to do that. And he's just matured so much over the years that, finally he makes Belfast. And the thing is, Belfast was, like, really his most personal film. I mean, easily his most personal film. He's really putting it all out there. And it's probably his greatest success as both a writer and a director. but it's the culmination of decades of honing his craft.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go from there, so I just stopped.
I started recently watching, not even on purpose, just kind of matter of factly. I just started kind of like randomly watching a lot of his films.
Mhm. Well, I mean, most of them are worth watching.
Yeah,
I mean, he's always kind of had a sense for it. I just think that Belfast was when he put a lot of pieces together. Unfortunately, Belfast is also the first movie that he shot digitally. But
Well, nobody's
you
perfect.
know, yeah. Well,
Yeah, I think we touched on the Belfast thing maybe in the Oscar episode, how it was very unique that he, after a long career in filmmaking, all of a sudden just made this borderline art house movie that's,
yeah.
different angles, different shot selection. It's very, very tough to just twist like that and go against all your earlier instincts. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked him, but watching Belfast gave me a new appreciation for Van Morrison,
Who's Van Morrison?
the musician.
The musician?
Yeah.
Is he in it?
No, he did all of the music.
No,
Oh, he did the music.
yeah, all of the music in Belfast was Van Morrison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Interesting. I barely even noticed. I mean, I'm sure the music was. I think I recall it, but it's been a while now.
Watching the movie made me download like 5 songs.
Really,
Yeah.
that's good.